My name is Thomas Light. I am the researcher who designed and built Mega Man X.
Mega Man, Maverick Hunter X.
Alright, so originally we were going to do a video breakdown kind of on this game just as a whole, and my thoughts on it versus the original and some other broad comparisons, but we ran out of time because of work and holiday obligations and procrastination on my part, and then my computer crashed and ate the script that I had written for it so far, so we're just going to kind of jump into this and use the raw footage to do a bonus Let's Play.
Woo!
So I don't think we need to bother with any introductions at this point. This is a thing that I know people in the Something Awful thread way back were requesting in some regard, so I figured it wouldn't be a terrible Christmas present this year for Xmas, the sort of technically third Xmas. But I'll open by saying that some of my absolute favorite bits about this game are the inclusions of the animated portions. I think all of the 2D work that went into Maverick Hunter X is absolutely outstanding. That's reflected in the concept art and promotional images and everything as well. I think the cover art could have been composed a little bit better, but overall it's really, really good at kind of capturing the dynamic feeling of everything, but updated. They did a lot of things to unify a lot of the character designs as well. Like, I think this is where they started making sure that X's hands weren't always really big, because it wasn't necessarily that was an artistic problem in the original artwork, but the different artists had trouble keeping it consistent.
Right.
So this one did a better job of making him a little bit more human-esque without making him not feel like X, or making him too slim, which some people, I think, thought X8 did. Yeah, this is the story of the Maverick Hunter known as X. 100% run, minus the Hadoken capsule, which, whatever. And then there's one sort of side difference. I'll explain when we get there a little bit closer. Starting out, I guess, opening highway, it's going to be tough for me to kind of go through this because we've already commented on this game technically twice. I guess the easiest way for me to start is that I do not like this game as much as the original, and I think it could have been much better than it actually is. I don't hate it as much as I originally remember hating it. This is my first time playing through it 100%. I don't agree with some of the changes that got made just for the sake of making it different. And I'll be doing a lot of active comparison between this game and either X8 for a modern X example, or Powered Up, which was kind of like the sibling release to this. And those dates pulled up.
Personally, I like the art style. I really like the whole low poly Mega Man shit.
Oh yeah, so the low poly is great. I think it kind of falls short in one or two places, and that was actually the first comparison that I wanted to draw, just because it's something that's really immediately obvious. So I think Powered Up does a better job of stylizing its 3D models, because it has a very explicit, this is the kind of intentional cutesy cartoony aesthetic we want to go for.
Whereas this one is trying to replicate the original art style.
Exactly. So rather than going full bore on its absolutely gorgeous concept art, it's still kind of stylizing the proportions down the same way. So X's head is really big, which I don't think is
necessary.
I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's great either. And when we have a comparison to X8, we know that it, like you were just saying, isn't really necessary either.
Yeah.
So I get it, I just don't think it works as well as it could.
And his head doesn't look as big in the light armor, so I think it is just
there's a little bit of oddities. There's also a lot of inconsistencies throughout. I think I think most of them are intentional. I agree with some of them, and some of them I do not. This big one right away, gameplay-wise, is actually one of my biggest grievances right away, which will kind of come up after some of this dialogue. Also, the voice acting is great, which I'll let run.
Rebellion? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just here to cause trouble for you. I hate you. Hope you're ready, X.
I love that vial.
Yeah, the Vile voice is great. They do a good job characterizing him, too.
Yeah, I love that he's just an asshole.
Yeah, like, kind of factionless, sort of aligning with Sigma, but only because it helps. So I hate that you actually have to beat Vile in this fight. It undermines kind of the entire point, and it's such an important point to the original game that if you're going to do a remake, removing it is just kind of like a disservice to the way the narrative works. You're supposed to feel helpless and, like, work up to this where you're captured and then Zero jumps in and saves you. Spoilers, I guess. And in this one, you beat him like he's nothing and then just walk up to him and it's like, oh no, I made a mistake or whatever. It just doesn't read as well.
Right.
It gives an opportunity for more back and forth between X and Vile, which, again, is a strong point of the game. And I like the dynamics of this intro instead of the long charge reveal, but that doesn't really have any impact on the means of getting captured. It's just a thing that happens in this scene.
As a technical aspect, this footage was originally recorded to be like a clip show sort of thing, so it's not as polished as some of the runs from the
we were going for mostly having Hunt and Peck clips to edit together with some X8 and powered up footage for comparisons and stuff. So this wasn't really intended to be an LP, but it's...
So I've had to make some Band-Aid edits in places to make it smooth.
More palatable.
You'll notice some inconsistencies with what X has equipped at points, but
that's fine.
I cleaned it up as best as I could.
So, I like this.
I love the little head turn.
Yeah. The actual animations are really, really good. And also, Zero leaves a different way, and then you teleport out, which I think is another kind of neat detail. It changes things up. And I like the Navigator. I'm glad that they didn't shoehorn in different mechanics, but I like that there's a character that is supposed to take that role. It makes it more unified with the later games, which I think is a good call. And yeah. So in this one, another one of the big differences, which we're seeing right away, also, Jesus, just the slowdown. I seriously don't know if that's an emulation thing or a PSP thing.
I think it's an emulation thing.
I'm going to blame it on the PSP anyway.
Alright.
So all of the armor capsule locations have been switched. They're all in the same levels that they were in, but all of the armor components are different, which I don't get. I don't think that was a necessary change at all. It didn't really change the challenge of anything. It just kind of made me tough through Flame Mammoth first, which I don't think is fun in this one, really. I don't mind it doing it as a run changer in X1 at all, but this is basically where you have to go to get the boots, and you obviously want to start with the dash as soon as possible. And it's in the same spot as the Buster in the old one, which was an intentionally difficult spot which you can now jump to just right away, which also doesn't really sit well with me, but listen to this good-ass Dr. Light voice.
I entrust the future to
Light? I think I know this guy.
If you've
That's
come
a nice
across
guy
this
as well.
vessel,
Yeah.
I fear you must be in the midst of a difficult battle. I have left 4 powers for you to inherit. I believe that you will use them in the cause of justice. Here you will find the foot parts. Equip the parts you find in this capsule and you will gain the ability to dash. Use this power to steer the future in the right direction. I trust in you, my dear X.
Okay, so low point doesn't do the cool component flash when you get armor. I know that's just a difference between models and sprites, but I like it on the sprites, and I don't care. That's nitpicky, and I understand that it's not actually a low point, but I don't care about that. So this one, you take a lot of damage from the lava. Normally, I would jump in and try to get that heart tank and just tank it out, but it was already kind of a sloppy run, and I didn't really feel like dealing with it. And also, you need the helmet now to get the sub-tank. It's in the same location, but they basically made it so that you have to get the armor in a set order. Like, each part basically requires the next part until the helmet. Not the helmet, I'm sorry, the Buster is last, I believe. No? Yes? No, I guess that's not true. Because, yeah, you are able to get into the robot fight in Instinct Chameleon Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
never mind. It feels like more of a fixed pattern, though, because you need the boots to get to, I believe the one in Chill Penguins. Yeah, you need them for Chill Penguins, because they're the wall kick walks. Then you need the helmet from Chill Penguin stage to get the armor part in Storm Eagle stage because it's a headbutt. And then I'm pretty sure it's the Buster in Stinking Millions because they're all in different locations, and that one you can just do separately, which also, now that I think about it, is super weird and undermines the Easter egg in it, I guess, kind of a little bit. Or doesn't, I don't know. This game is really frustrating because, again, I don't feel like any of these edits were necessary. And actually, this is a good opening for me to talk about this thing because this fight is kind of boring, albeit a pain in the ass. He has a much longer stagger period, it feels, than he does in the Sprite version. So, Maverick Hunter X released originally on February 2nd, 2006. And Powered Up released on March 2nd, 2006, so literally exactly 1 month apart, I guess depending on how you want to call them up. And I think that, like I said, Powered Up is better. I'm wondering how much of that actually had to do with the release order because it was such a short gap. It's not like they could really pivot much development-wise in just a month and then still ship it out the same way. By, feedback or anything like that.
I think the two teams just had completely different ideas of what they wanted to do.
It's very possible, yeah. It's just a bummer because the way this works as a story mode in Powered Up, which is, if you're unaware, a remake of the first Mega Man game, the classic Mega Man game, it's got more than 2 modes to play through, and there's original unedited mode, which even has like the original chiptune music, which I think is a really nice touch, and that is more or less entirely untouched except for some major sort of technical changes that I think were just kind of like they were either in or they weren't. And then a new mode, which includes the 2 new Robot Masters and an intro stage and a bunch of extra narrative stuff. It also either does or doesn't have voice acting, so I wish that that's what this game had done, and I'll kind of go into that more in the next episode, where I will also address some voice acting problems.